Greetings, meatbags. Timbo has evidently chosen the path most geniuses do when it comes to facing very obvious problems. He complains about unrelated issues and ignores the relevant parts. So we figured we'd take a bit of time to help him understand. Because, why not?
For a bit of context, Spud Dud unbanned the meatbag and went almost straight into wanting to be pals. The meatbag has been fairly clear on why he's not interested in being friends with Timbo. Perhaps the time has come for a more, shall we say, undeniable explanation. First, let's hear him sulk about the meatbag's refusal to entertain the notion of friendship.
I don't know why Robosen gotta be that way. You know? I brought him into my couch. I think that was really nice. I didn't have to bring him into my home. You know what I'm saying?
You bring all of us into your home whenever. You go on stream. Big guy.
Like, I was being so respectful, taking him into my home, like a real good father would. I didn't say nasty things to him or anything, did I?
Not at all. Timbo, you need to understand something about the meatbag. In order to hurt his feelings, he needs to respect you. You're completely safe. Say whatever you want. He knows projection is all you have to work with besides appearance and ignorance. Nothing says, I'm too stupid to come up with a rebuttal. Like any of those three strategies, whenever you respond to a logical point with something like, you're a fat cow, or you're bald, it pretty much hands us the win in a debate about the merits of your ideas. Not because of hurt feelings, as stated, respect is a factor you just don't have. No, going physical in a mental battle is like demanding the game be switched from chess to football. Talk about moving the goalpost. And the meatbag didn't say anything vicious or mean either. He simply said he had no interest in being your friend. That's not an attack, Timbo. It's just reality. We're going to get into the reasons why you suck as friend material. Maybe you can use it to understand why you have no friends yourself. Maybe I'm a Chinese jet pilot.
Just like, they don't talk nasty stuff about Cyrex, it's just his behavior, but that dude's behavior, he has no right to say a single word about me, and same with everybody else that tried to ever detract from me. They're all...
You're gonna need to put in some effort here, Timbo, and explain just why you think people need your permission to talk about you, especially considering the bonkers bullshit you load your dead streams up with. Yes, we know they're called live streams. Yours only seem to be when a troll shows up.
In the meantime, here's why the meatbag is well within his rights to talk about you. It's so simple. Your stream is your effort to put yourself in the public eye. When you stream in that hovel of yours, you are actively asking people to watch your show. It just so happens your show sucks for a host of reasons, yet you keep putting it on, making the meatbag and others wonder just how long you're going to take before you realize you're going nowhere. You are not growing. You are, if anything, regressing, and you're doing it in full view of the public that you yourself are trying to attract. In short, you make an ass of yourself in a public attempt to gain fame and fortune. You're fair game.
Weird creeps. When people understand this, when people can truly understand this, and maybe they wouldn't be so adamant to follow these weirdos all the time, because apparently they think the people that sit in the shadow of me, they're somehow 10 times more beautiful and 10 times more attractive.
No, Timbo, that's what you think. They think. And you're wrong again. People don't watch our videos because they are attracted to the pictures the meatbag doesn't put up. They, like he, see an out-of-touch sicko trying to make it big on social media. Just like Cyrax.
And 10 times more powerful, except their power is rooted in nothing at all, in bringing a man on a sofa down. That's not a purpose in life. It's like It's like, what is that even? It's like, well, how do you even center your life around those things? That's wild, you know?
The truth is even wilder. The meatbag isn't going to, as you say, bring you down. You're doing that all on your own with your disgusting and predatory behavior. The meatbag didn't generate that video of you talking about mooching from and vandalizing the property of your stepsister. You did. You said it on live stream for the world to hear. And that, dear Spud Dud, isn't all you've said or done to ruin your own life. 6-0, tell him what else he's done.
You betcha L0. Timbo, you've got quite the record, don't you? Ah yes, your first attempt at self-ruination failed, just like every other attempt at anything meaningful has. Your attempt at drunken life cancellation failed spectacularly, and you ended up stealing a car. Not a good start in life. But wait, even before you did that, you Sierra Alpha'd your stepsister. You don't feel bad about it. You'll happily victimize her again. You've literally admitted all these things. In fact, here, let's link some, shall we?
We shall. But for future reference, you are C8. I am 6-0.
All right, sorry about that 6-0.
What is wrong with our culture? Our culture.
Interesting question. What indeed is wrong with our culture when a boring, self-important stepsister-touching poser can't get ahead on YouTube? We'd submit, at least from this aspect, the answer is not a damn thing. Timbo, let's for a moment forget you're a horrible human being. You're still a horrible entertainer and/or guru, basically trying to hide behind a thin veil of mental illness which you intentionally get no treatment for. Let's start with the basics. Your content, or non-tent, as we think of it.
Anyways, at least I create creative stories that people love. You know, they get challenged by it, mentally challenged by my stories, by my simple stories. And so...
First and foremost, they aren't your stories. How it works is, you ask ChatGPT for a story based on your prompt, and it writes one for you. Kind of like a child asking a grown-up to tell them a story about something. There is no talent involved, at least on your part. Moreover, the stories you ask for are really boring and require way too much suspension of disbelief. Here's a sample of one you, quote-unquote, created for a new person in your chat.
The Quest for the Mud Cube, a journey in the Potatoverse. In the mystical lands of the Potatoverse, a realm where every root and tuber pulsed with divine light, a great darkness had taken hold. At its heart lay the Mud Cube, a vile, sentient relic of corruption that threatened to suffocate the sacred balance of all creation. To restore order, a noble fellowship was forged, each member an unlikely hero in this epic saga of glory and conquest. Tim the humble bearer, Frodo reborn, Tim, a quiet and resolute soul, bore the weight of destiny much like a humble hobbit tasked with a burden beyond measure. His eyes shone with the gentle light of the sacred potato, a symbol of eternal nourishment and truth. Though small in stature, Tim's heart was vast, and within him resided the power to challenge the very fabric of darkness. The arrogant dreamer, Potatu. Accompanying Tim was a man of grand delusions, the arrogant dreamer. Notorious for his incessant cry, Potatu. This exclamation, meant to trivialize the divine, belied his shallow grasp of true majesty. He mocked the sacred journey with his bombastic words, confident that he could twist Tim's destiny to fit his petty ambitions. Yet, his hubris was as empty.
And that's not what I wanted.
Well, gee, Timbo, tell us you've been having AI tell negative stories about random folks in chat without telling us. That story smelled like a prompt which went something like, tell a story about me being Frodo from Lord of the Rings, and going with me on a journey to destroy the Mud Cube is Arrogant Dreamer. The computer, noticing that pretty much every, shall we say, guest star, was an evil mud dweller, and assumed as much this time. Oh, Spud, you're so precious. Don't worry. Arrogant Dreamer was probably long gone by now. That weird potato god talk was probably all it took.
But don't you see, from an outside perspective, you're hardly the complete package. We mean, do you want to hear prompted AI stories about how great some random person is? There's a reason that format hasn't caught on. People aren't lining up to glaze random weirdos on the internet who are asking to be glazed. Above all, did you notice how boring this was for someone watching? You had nothing going on while you wrote your complicated prompt based on one person's passing reference. You also immediately went straight into your potato superiority crap. Timbo, we realize you had some kind of drug and or mental illness-induced revelation about potatoes. Well, that or you stole part of it from another person. Either way, you need to understand, to the average human on YouTube, it's weird. Very weird. Show us someone else so dedicated to a random thing and we'll show you a loser. Oh wait, we can actually show you that too. How do you feel about garden gnomes, Timbo?
Meet Ron. Ron had a thing for garden gnomes. He didn't just love collecting them. He sometimes said he was one. We're pretty sure he just had a shtick he was very dedicated to. But whether he really thought he was a gnome or not, one thing is crystal clear. If you're not into gnomes, Ron was not the guy to hang around with, which is possibly why he had trouble finding people to hang around with him. He died with his gnomes. You, Timbo, are basically Ron 2.0. If you're lucky, maybe someday producers will come to your place and film your potato life, just like Ron.
And, like the stories, what you claim to be your music is not actually yours. Once again, you simply prompted AI for songs about someone or something. From your usual vocabulary and lexicon used by AI, it's pretty easy to tell you didn't even write the lyrics. Here, have a sample of Timbo's latest song.
There's nothing you can plant that can't be grown. No soil so dry where roots won't roam. Nothing you can peel that isn't gold. It's easy. All you need is mud.
On a side note, the lyrics are banal and incorrect. Believe it or not, there are places on Earth so dry most seeds won't grow. South America, Timbo, where potatoes come from, also hosts the Atacama Desert. You won't find any potatoes growing there. In fact, you won't find much of anything growing there at all. But it's a friggin' swamp compared to the McMurdo dry valleys in Antarctica. Way to keep things real, AI?
But back to the, content. This was trash, Timbo. Utter trash. Who needs a remake of All You Need Is Love? And more importantly, who needs it with a black screen? Shit, man. You would have been better off using that Nightmare Fuel Spuddy's thumbnail than nothing.
And as for how these relate to being friends with you, well, you're a needy little bastard, ain't you, Timbo? If we were friends, it's easy to imagine a lot of DMs asking us to check out your latest story or song. Being that we are not into potatoes the way you are, we have to say this alone limits the friendship potential. Your requests for affirmation would get old very, very quickly. But don't feel bad. This garbage you call entertainment or knowledge is the least of what's keeping us apart. Let's move on to your personality. That, Timbo, is a major factor in why we don't want to be your pal. First, let's hear you describe yourself.
I'm so nice. I'm literally like the nicest person in the world. I am like...
Now let's see the nicest person in the world being nice.
So I mean, it's just...
But why are you so offended by it?
Because you're regurgitating American propaganda, you piece of shit. Yeah, and then you laugh at it, you piece of shit.
Yeah.
And then you say, yeah, okay, so no, yeah, so okay, all right, okay, so you want no,
Now you're
so
mad.
well,
You're
your
mad at
country's
me.
done. Your country's done. Your country's
Okay.
gone. Your country's gone
Okay.
because with that
Is
attitude,
it?
you can it's gone. You mean nothing to me. You're gone to me. America will be the next country to fall. You're Babylon. You're a
Wow.
blight on this earth.
Oh yeah, you're so much nicer than that one jerk. What was his name? Oh yeah, Mr. Rogers. But seriously, when you're not upset about something, then the topic always has to revolve around you somehow. Please note, even if the meatbag thought you were kidding about what you're about to say, it still just comes off as selfish attention seeking.
All right. Well, I'm kind of bored. Thought it was gonna be fun. Tim, you're.
Nah, this shit ain't never fun. Oh, I'll tell you a funny story. So, I went to a Twitter space today, and I wasn't allowed to talk. And then they said, they talked about kneeling, they talked about the throne, they talked about the vessel, they talked about Jesus Christ, and God, and all these amazing things. And I was like, yes, finally, they're talking about me, and the potato vessel, and the throne that I was. And then they said, oh, also we have the potato of life here. And I was like, yes, yes, it's happening, right? And then they said, sorry, but we don't trust you, we don't want you to talk, and, so you just listen.
So they told you that you couldn't talk?
Yeah. They wanted to talk about God, but they didn't want to talk with God, Wasn't that funny? That's funny, isn't it? There's a room full of people, and they're all talking about the throne and the vessel. It was so beautiful. They were talking about how they were getting down on their knees every day.
As it is, well, we know you think you're God. You've said so quite a few times. You've also said you're Jesus pretty often as well. On top of that, sometimes you say God asked, sometimes he told you to be the potato of life. Timbo, on a basic interaction level, we don't want to hang around with someone who talks about themselves as though they were God. Whether they believed it or not, because no matter what, it's just a cheap ego boost request. Hey buddy, it's all in good fun. I don't really think I'm God. I'm just pretending to be your spiritual superior. But seriously, let's talk about these other bozos who didn't want to recognize my divinity. You've got a 1 or 2 track mind at best, Timbo. And both are insufferable on a social level.
But these aren't the only reasons, Timbo. You're a hateful weirdo. For all your talk of small hat conspiracies and how your ex ran off to be with a Muslim, it's pretty clear you're masking some intense hatred. It doesn't help when you make up stories about being Hitler's chosen one, or sit there and listen to Nazi war marches like Erica, which is the title of this lovely little tune.
Ability and dreams of greatness turned to dust under his iron fist. People were forced to kneel, forced to offer their love, but in their forced compliance, they began to resent him. They feared him, not loved him. The mud revolution had turned into an empire of misery. The realization. Halfway through his mission, as Tim Dooley stood tall over the broken world he had built, a quiet realization began to dawn on him. There was a shimmer of truth in his heart. All of this, the mud coins, the power, the forced loyalty, was it really what he wanted? Tim stopped. He looked out over the sea of kneeling figures, his empire, his creation. They had obeyed him, yes, but they had not loved him in the way he had wanted. They had feared him, they had respected him, but their hearts were not his. And in that moment, Tim Dooley understood. The lesson he had been too blind to see had...
So yeah, Timbo, when we pop into your stream and you're giving off Henry Gibson painting a Nazi eagle while relaxing to Nazi music vibes, it doesn't make us want to be your pal. At the very least because we don't want to explain why we're associating with a fucking Nazi lover. And there you have it, in a nutshell, Timbo. Ask yourself, if someone like this came into your life and wanted to be your friend, would you genuinely want to be theirs? Imagine someone just like you, only they're convinced that they're the chosen one. Every conversation comes back to them, every so-called story, every artificial song. Then factor in that they're also a social pariah because of their confirmed sicko past. So you'd be looking at someone who only wants to talk about themselves or things that interest them, who looks at you as their inferior. If you said yes, you're a damn liar or a moron. Perhaps both. Regardless, we can promise you, friendship is the last thing you'd get with someone just like you. As for the meatbag, he'd probably get along with someone just like him. If you made it this far, Timbo, here is your prize. How you look at the person just like yourself is how average people look upon you. If you can't see how someone just like yourself would be tiring, at best then, you'll never understand why you're alone, why your family shuns you, and this is all aside from what you did to your stepsister. That, in and of itself, is disgusting enough to make us cut ties with someone who is friend material.
Thank you all for watching. Have a great 52nd of a year.